Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for tuning in on the YouTube channel, listening to us on iTunes or Google Play, or following us on Facebook. We hope you like it. We're going to talk about horse sex. I bet that gets your attention right now. In our Rood and Riddle vet check. Now, they're still sponsors. I thought I'd lost them, Doc. I wasn't sure. Dr. Mariah Schnobrich is with us, and Casey Cromer. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Now, I say this because you kind of would identify yourself as almost like the sex doctor or the OBGYN of thoroughbreds. And this is the time of year. We're talking about love. Right now, we're getting right into the start of mating season. Very important, though, in a serious note, very important in the industry. And what do you have to do at this time to make sure the mares are ready for the stallions so that everybody has that live cover, which I'll get you to tell about more?
Sure. Yeah. So just as you said, after the racing performance, the value in a lot of the mares particularly is their ability to produce offspring. So some of these mares we've been looking at since the fall, making sure that their reproductive tract looks healthy, and that there's nothing we need to address. And then the breeding shed, so when these mares can start to be bred, will basically begin on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And the date of that is because the horse's gestation's about 11 months, so they carry a pregnancy longer than us. And so right now we're just looking to make sure that these mares their reproductive tract looks good, that they're cycling, and that they're going to be ready to get bred as soon as those sheds are open. Some mares take a little bit longer. Horses, unlike humans, they don't cycle year-round. So one of the things is we watch as they basically in the winter shut down, which is sort of their natural process of preserving energy. And then as they come back into the spring, they'll start cycling. So right now we're looking at their ovaries and everything, all the good things in there.
So those horses play hard to get.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, and hopefully our hope is that most of them are pregnant over the winter. So we have some mares that won't be able to be bred until they fold, obviously.
And live cover, which is not unique, but because certain breeds don't, but they do in thoroughbred racing, that's why they are a thoroughbred.
Correct, yes. So to be a registered thoroughbred, you need to have conceived that foal through live cover, and the dam of that foal needs to have carried the pregnancy. And some of the other breeds that we work with, saddlebreds, warm bloods, we can even do things like embryo transfer or do crazy things like take the oocyte out and fertilize it basically in vitro and put it in a surrogate mother. None of that flies in the thoroughbreds. So, and part of the thought is that there's a lot of different reasons for why people have argued that we keep it as a live cover, but it's to make sure that the two, the sire and the dam, are both healthy enough to breed. It also, some people feel it preserves the genetics. Certainly you look at a place like Lexington, our industry is based on a lot of mares and stallions being local in order to get that breeding done. So there's a lot of reasons that people have argued for it, but I don't know that will ever change. It will probably remain a live cover breeding, whereas in things like the quarter horses, we can actually collect semen and ship it somewhere else for artificial insemination. Horses, we need to have the dam and sire there. It needs to happen, and that's how we make a baby in the thoroughbreds.
And you were impressed that I knew about live cover.
I was very impressed.
That's all I got. That's all I got, Dr.
You want to walk us through that?
Dr. Schnobrich, that's all I've got on the veterinarian side. But as far as right now, when you mentioned when they come into the breeding shed, it really is a very thorough professional operation that everyone has, and that they get the mare ready at the right time with a teaser sometimes.
Yep.
I think teaser might be self-explanatory. You think?
I
Thank
think
you,
so.
Casey, for agreeing with me on that. But really, the worst job in horse racing.
Yeah, exactly.
The poor guy.
I know. We feel really
No
bad
reward.
for those guys.
No reward.
Yeah, he was the horse that you see at the dance that's over there in the corner,
Yeah.
sitting by the punch
The
bowl.
wingman. Yep.
And he's energetic. He's enthusiastic. And, he's a go-getter, but just not going to get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're really fortunate. The live cover breeding, these are very valuable animals. And so I think a huge shout out goes to our breeding sheds and the people that run those and handle the stallions and the mares and all the work that goes into making sure that mare is as appropriate as she can be for breeding, because it can be very dangerous. If the mare is not appropriate or ready to be bred, she's not at the right stage of her cycle to be receptive to the stallion. She's got two hind legs that can kick, and she can do a lot of damage. And certainly on the stallion side, when you have a stallions that are as valuable as ours in the thoroughbred industry, you need to make sure you've done everything you can to ensure his safety in the breeding. And it's certainly an experience for those of you who haven't seen it. It's a very well-run operation, and a lot of the sheds that we have in Lexington do a phenomenal job of that. But yeah, we were talking earlier about kind of the industry and things that make it interesting, and we have a lot of friends that don't know anything about the thoroughbreds, and one of their favorite things to do is come down, and my husband convinces them to go visit one of the breeding sheds, and they definitely have never seen that before.
That's eye-opening, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. So they have a whole system. You know, the mare comes in, the teaser basically has underpants on that prevent him from leather shroud is what we call it. And he goes and basically tries her out. And if she looks like she's willing to have coffee, then they'll bring in the real deal. So.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm probably not doing it justice. If you haven't done
you
your breeding
are.
shed. Yeah,
it's wild and it's quick.
Yes. Yep.
It's not a long engagement.
Yes, exactly. Yep. If it's done right.
And it's done on film.
It is.
They tape it so you can that way you can't come back and say, was my mare really bred to whatever big stallion it is?
Absolutely.
It's on tape. It's like a Kardashians.
Exactly.
They put sex
All
tapes out for horses.
Mm-hmm. And exactly. And we can debate over what happened. But yeah, no, there's characteristic things that happen with the tail flags. So we know, and then we also look at the samples that after the act, we're trying to keep this PG, that you can evaluate to make sure there's semen there. So there's a lot that goes into it because there's so much time and money spent on getting these mares ready, and we just do as much as we can on the breeding shed side as well as on the mare side to make sure that we're not wasting any time.
Now, Casey, what's this experience been like for you? You're an intern?
Yes, sir, I am. It's been an adjustment working with a personality like Mariah. But I think as a young veterinarian, the most important thing anytime you're working with large and dangerous animals is respecting the people who have the experience. And Mariah is absolutely right that when you go into the shed, everything is a stepwise pattern and it happens the same time every way to protect you. And by making sure you go in that stepwise manner, it protects the stallions, it protects the mares, and ensures that, we're going to get the end goal, which is the live cover. So I think it's a little intimidating, getting in there and getting, the dismount sample is what we call it, to be able to assess the fertility in a stallion. But, it's all about making the best thoroughbred we can for the generations to come with the genetics we have today. And I think it's a pretty big honor to be able to work on that side of things.
And there's danger involved here with you when you go in there. Are most vets on location for the actual breeding? Do they have a vet in there? Or?
It depends on the breeding shed. So some of the larger ones will have a vet that's there to supervise. But honestly, for the thoroughbreds, there's a crew of people who have worked together that there's usually someone who holds the mare or restrains the mare. There's someone who leads that stallion. There are people who hold the tail. But when Casey's talking, you realize when you first start working under stallions, whether it's to collect semen with an artificial vagina or to assist with live cover, they're big animals and you've got to know where to go. And if your adrenaline isn't up, when you're first learning how to do it and you come out, you're kind of shaking. And I think one of the things that's important is you never lose track of realizing that things can go south very quickly. There's ways in which you can turn the stallion. Naturally, if you watch a mare and stallion in the field or in a field breeding situation, they test each other, and there's a lot of vocalization, kicking, striking to see if are we going to stand, are we really going to do this? And he's testing her. He may be biting her, and so when we insert ourselves in that situation, you have to be careful that he's not going to come to the handler. So having a group of people that understand what's normal behavior and when that behavior goes awry is so important. And it takes years of experience. And, I remember one time we had a tour watching me train a novice stallion, and the stallion handler actually turned the stallion the wrong way. And by turning him that way, if it were a field situation, they kick out with their hind legs. And so you kind of saw it coming, but he missed my head by a couple inches. And so it is, a lot of it is, it's physical, it's knowing where to be, and having a really good crew. And a lot of times you see these sheds, there's not a lot of communication, or they're, depending on how they work, but they the good sheds work very well together. And you have to trust each other. And you also can't ever forget how big these animals are or how dangerous it is.
How soon do you know if the mare is pregnant?
So we breed them right around the time of ovulation. And live cover, on the mare side, you've been following a follicle. It usually gets about 4 centimeters or that big. They're very large follicles where the egg is. And we want her to have been inseminated before she ovulates. So hopefully she's bred, and then the following day, ideally, she's ovulated. If she's ovulated, you can see on ultrasound a pregnancy as early as 10 days, but we routinely check them at about 14 or 15 days. And that's because sometimes they can have twins, and at that point, we can eliminate a twin if we need to do so.
And do you, if they don't get pregnant, do they come back?
Oh, yes. We come
2 or 3
roaring right
weeks
back.
like
Yes.
they come right back there? I thought
Yes.
so. Just
Yep, unless you're Dr. Riddle, in which case you only need to breed them once because he gets them all pregnant. I'm just kidding. It's a throw out
nice
to Dr.
plug
Riddle.
for our sponsor
yeah,
there.
Exactly. Yeah, Dr. Riddle. No, but
big shout out to Tom.
yeah, but yeah, no, we check them at 14 days, and then sometimes you have to look at them again 16 days. But if the mare's cycle is every 21 days. So if she's not pregnant at that time, she'll come rolling back in, and in the next few days should be able to be bred. And at that point, we've got to figure out why didn't she get pregnant. So does she have a uterine infection, and deal with that if we need to. If she looks good, it may just have been an issue of egg quality or just not pairing up for whatever reason, and so we try again.
I bet your dinner conversations are fascinating.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I've
been to her Thanksgiving. They are.
We try to keep it clean, and I have 3 young sons that I try to protect them as much as possible from what I'm doing. But yeah, definitely. Sometimes you get a phone call and you're answering questions about an ejaculate and you realize you're in a restaurant and everyone's staring at you. You try to keep it. It's definitely interesting. You stop cocktail parties.
And did you order the steak?
Yeah. Exactly.
But this is where the industry starts. We talk about the love theme and all that, and this is where the industry starts. This is where a Justify started, or American Pharaoh, or many great horses. Horses are out there running and claiming races. The breeding is part of it, and especially in the central Kentucky area, I mean, it's the backbone of the industry.
Absolutely.
So what you do is paramount in terms of the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Pun not intended there. But that's the only way. If this doesn't work, we don't have racehorses.
Yeah. And I don't think, when I first came to Kentucky, a lot of us who maybe have just seen the horse racing side of it, you don't realize the entire breeding industry that supports it, and all these farms that board mares that come from all over. So it is a huge, lifestyle for all the people here, and it's just a huge part of the industry that a lot of people don't know about. They can't imagine, and even in veterinary medicine, there aren't a lot of places where you have so many breeding animals concentrated. There might be a couple mares that you breed, 1 or 2 farms, but to have a farm where you're going through those shed rows and palpating 20 mares to breed them, that's an unusual, even in our country, that's an unusual thing, or in England, yeah.
Doctor, it's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank
You
you
explained
very much.
it perfectly. You did. Dr. Mariah Schnobrich was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Casey, you're learning under the best here.
I am. I sure am.
Thank you for being with
happy
us
to have
in
it.
the Rood and Riddle Vet Check. And we'll be back with more on the Horse Racing Show after this.